Well, hello. Oh my goodness. I can't believe we're doing this again. Hello from North Carolina. This is our lucky 11th live session. Our plan is to go live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is kind of where I share industry news from the previous week. If you are Team Live, please drop a comment below so that I know that you are here. If you are Team Replay, I'm not mad at you. I dropped a link in the comments, so please either feel free to catch the replay here on LinkedIn, or you can go to our website and catch this. What is this called? The rundown. Yes. You can catch the rundown replays, either previous episodes on the website, or you can watch it here on LinkedIn. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Rosalinda Cruz, and I am the founder and Chief Business Development Officer of the ASOR Collective, where we help underrepresented leaders in fashion with strategic planning and advising. Our mission is to support a more diverse and inclusive, sustainable fashion industry by filling the leadership and ownership gaps in the apparel supply chain. So, on these lives, I really try to do my best to reconcile my love for fashion and retail, along with my values around sustainability, diversity, and inclusion. So I try to advocate for supply chain while also raising buyers' awareness. Sometimes those things don't always align, but that's what I'm here to do, is to try and reconcile that. And again, provide space to have honest conversations about some of the challenging things that are happening in the industry. Um, Typically, in our time together, I try to cover a couple of things. North Carolina news, just because we are the #1 textile producing state. We are an epicenter of innovation, with Research Triangle Park being just a stone's throw away from where I am. And also, it is just a breeding ground for entrepreneurs. So that's why we talk about North Carolina news. Also touch on product, service, workforce, any epiphanies that have happened, and then the green carpet. This these last couple of weeks, I don't know what is going on. I mean, it typically happens around the holidays where things slow down, but it was, I don't know, I felt like I was like in a wacko weirdo universe. Guy was stuck in a time warp where things were slowing down and speeding up all at the same time. So, in any case, there's not a lot of news, but let's get into it. In terms of announcements, let me make sure I set my timer. I always forget to do that, but I think I did it this time. I did it. Just have to start trusting myself more. Okie dokie. Okay, so announcements. January 19th, I am hosting another executive roundtable. I do these on a fairly regular basis, but this roundtable in particular, I host on a quarterly basis. And essentially, what I do is I bring people together who represent the various links in the apparel value chain. And we kind of reflect on either the previous year, or what happened in the previous quarter, and also discuss how to be best prepared for either the next year or the quarter that's ahead of us. So the executive roundtable in January is going to be focused on reflecting on 2021, and also preparing for 2022. So wanted to share that. I also started the wait list for our leader labs. I have, in speaking with people, various levels of leadership in the industry, one of the things that they had expressed is really needing some accountability, but also having a space where they can come together and get advice and support regarding the work that they're doing. So one of the things that we're going to be doing here is kind of following the planning cadence, but also just providing a place for support for leaders. So if you're interested in joining the Leader Lab, please sign up for our wait list, which is on our homepage, aceworkcollective.com. I also, on January 26th, just again, because people have been asking for this, I added another session of the strategic planning workshop. So that, again, I'm going to be hosting January 26th. That is at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that is about it. So, like I said, this last week was pretty light. A couple of things that so I'm just going to go through this. There was really no news in North Carolina. Industry news. A little bit of news, and I think this might be the only bit of news in the whole typical segment that we run through. But in industry news, Days actually just came out with a report, and I really like this report. It was a short report, but it was called "What Fashion Got Right in 2021," which I really like. So just to highlight a couple of things that we did get right. Garment worker wins. So the expansion of the Bangladesh Accord Act, which is now the International Accord for Health and Safety in Textile and Garment Industry. So yay. Also, California saw a big win for garment workers with SB 62, known as the Garment Workers Protection Act. That was passed this past year. Also, more legislation. In March, the EU approved a proposal for a directive on mandatory human rights, environmental, and good governance due diligence, meaning that when it becomes legislation, companies are going to have to pay a penalty if they cause harm by not doing their due diligence. So I think that this is great. One of the things that I have always said is that a lot of times brands end up hiding behind the complexity of their supply chain, which I will agree that, that navigating the apparel ecosystem and supply chains can be daunting, but in some ways I feel like that is by design. So I am looking forward to seeing that change. Closing the loop, more brands are moving towards circularity and adding resale to their product and service offerings. For those of you who aren't familiar with circularity, it is really taking into account what is the second life of a product, right? So not just thinking about its existence until it gets into consumers' hands, but also thinking about what to do with it afterward. What is its second life? Whether it is upcycling scraps from the production room floor to thinking about ways to recirculate unsold product and also secondhand and previously owned garments. So a lot of brands are moving towards circularity and adding resale to their product and service offering, which is great. I always say this when I'm talking with entrepreneurs. People are always really excited to get their product out there and to pump new product into the marketplace. But the reality is that there's a huge opportunity when it comes to resale. So I always urge people to think about that. I'm glad to see that more brands are thinking about that. And then lastly, the World Sustainability Organization launched Models and Agency Academy, which also promotes the ethical and sustainable approach to modeling. So I think that is really great too. Again, no product news, no service news, no workforce news, although I feel like the workforce piece, I want to take a minute and say thank you to all of our retail workers. I know that I checked in with a bunch of my friends who are in the industry and still in the trenches. The holiday season is always a really, really difficult time of year. And I feel like this is the time where people in the industry just kind of collapse and are finally able to catch their breath and get some rest. So I'm excited about that. No green carpet news. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about is, I just want to acknowledge that I woke up with a serious case of the grumps, and I'm going to try to not furrow my brow, but that's why that's happening, because sometimes it happens. Sometimes we wake up funky. So I just wanted to acknowledge it. All right, they say name it to tame it. Oh my God, sip of water. All right, I'm back. So, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and again, this may be, a shorter than normal rundown, but one of the things that I wanted to talk about are New Year's resolutions. I feel like this has been an interesting time. I talked about how this sort of period leading up to Christmas and then between Christmas and New Year, I feel like it's always a little off. Um, and I've also had a lot of friends checking in with me, almost sort of like doing a temperature read on the world, in the sense that they're like, is it me or is it really weird out there? Is it me or are people really seeming to unravel? Like, what is going on in the universe? So, yes, I witnessed it. I experienced it. Um, I feel like one of the things that I actually seen a lot of, more so this year than any year before, is really people talking about New Year's resolutions, or either what they accomplished in 2021 and what they want to accomplish in 2022. And I'm not really a resolutions person. I gave up on those a long time ago. I found that I I was overcomplicating them. I wasn't setting myself up for success. Blah blah blah. The list goes on. So I don't really do them. But this year, because of all of the heightened talk around resolutions, I feel like I lost my focus a little bit. And I wanted to share with you what my approach is typically, right? So I have, instead of having a New Year's resolution, right? I typically have a word, and this is sort of like my guiding theme for the year. And my word for 2022 is surrender. I talked about this in a couple of episodes, but definitely in last week's episode. But I didn't realize what a good draw freak I am. um, and, and it's interesting because I feel like um, when people hear, right, that term control freak or controlling, they have a very, I want to say, narrow definition of what that is. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about how that shows up with me, right? So, controlling. One, I also want to acknowledge that this is a survival pattern, right? So, I call it doomsday prepping. But one of the things that I tend to do is I, um, I poke holes in everything. I try to see if it holds water. I look at it from all angles, make sure that it still makes sense. And again, this is, part of my survival pattern, and it has served me well for most of my life, and also has positioned me well as a strategist, right? Because that's what we do, right? Um, but one of the things that I have found that has happened with sort of this behavior around trying to control the outcomes is that I tend to ruminate a lot, right? And I don't always even acknowledge that I'm doing it, right? I feel like one of the things, some of the times that I notice it the most, right, is when I am trying to unwind at the end of the day, whether it is after I shut my computer off or when I am getting ready for bed at night. So, one of the things that I have been doing, and this is a trick that a friend taught me, is that I've been sweet talking myself. I've been sweet talking myself. So one of the things that I and that I find happens is that one, it's almost like when I start to sweet talk myself, it's almost like putting a stick in the spoke of my wheels, right? It really forces me to stop, but it also shifts my energy and gets me to give myself a little grace, give myself a little forgiveness and compassion. And it also ends up sparking a little joy in me, right? And also recognizes that I'm tender, right? I'm tender and I need a little love. So, what does sweet talking look like for me? It's simple. It's really simple. And I literally say to myself, "Oh, Rosa, sweetie, you are doing the best you can." And that right there is enough. That right there is enough. So again, I am practicing surrender. I am focusing on the things that are within my control, outside of my control, but really narrowing that focus, right? And focusing on how can I surrender more so that I can bring more joy to my life. Interesting story. But I am again practicing surrender and also recognizing that I need more joy in my life. And I'm also trying to figure out what that looks like, right? What does that look like in a pandemic? What does that look like when you are the full time caregiver for your dad who has dementia and you're dealing with mental warfare all day, every day? What does that look like when you are an entrepreneur growing their business and you have clients that you have to serve, right? What does joy look like? I'm in my 40s, right? It doesn't mean, you know, going to the park and jumping on the monkey bars, which I mean, maybe I guess it could, but I cannot get my ass up on the monkey bars, even if I tried. Funny story, I tried doing a cartwheel once, like 6 years ago, almost broke my neck. I do not recommend trying cartwheels as an adult. If you haven't done them in a long time, it could be disastrous. In any case, I went to the park last week. this park that's right around the corner from my house. I have been wanting to go there. It is an old mill. They actually have an event on an annual basis called Fire Up the Mill or something like that, and you can get small batch grits and cornmeal, all of that stuff. So this was the first time that I'd been there, and I have been living in Sanford since 2017, right? So, and been in my house since 2019. So a couple of years now. And I got there, there was one car in the parking lot. I took in the beauty and I was like, oh, and I sat in my car for a good 5 minutes trying to get the internet up so that I could pull up a map of the park, map out my route, and figure out how to maximize my time at the park. And thank goodness I caught myself. And I was like, no, no, you're going to turn off the car. You're going to get out. You're going to grab your blanket and you're going to wander and you're going to discover what this park has to offer. And so that's what surrendering looks like to me, right? Catching myself, trying to control the outcome, and then really being able to shake it off and enjoy the moment. So yeah, so that's what my word for 2022 is: surrender. The other thing that I wanted to say is that even though, right, I told you that I don't, I stopped doing New Year's resolutions a long time ago, but because of like all of this heightened talk around resolutions, I decided that I needed to have one, and not that I needed to have one because again, like I don't like resolutions because they can feel burdensome, and you see I was furrowing my brow again. But this one felt like a good one. This one felt like a good one. And I will share this with you, and I think that some people could probably benefit from this. But my 2022 resolution is devour and indulge in all my nice things, right? I do not want to save any, no matter how small the pleasure, I do not want to save any pleasures for an unspecified future. So, guess what? I've been using all the lotions, I've been doing all the masks, I've been using all the eye creams. I've just been doing it. I've been doing it. And I love it. And I feel like this kind of ties into some of the things that I have been talking about around wanting to bring more joy, and also exercising that self care muscle, right? Which is something that I've been needing to flex more and more along with the rest of the world. So surrender is my word. My resolution is to devour and indulge in all of my nice things. Also tied to that, I have decided that I got too much stuff, right? We talked about sustainable fashion, and I have been super mindful of my consumption over the years. And to be honest, I haven't really bought much in the last 3, maybe even 4 years. Um, but one of the things that I find really difficult is getting rid of things, right? So I actually have a whole closet in my other room that's packed. I probably have 20 or 30 bags um, of old clothes. Some of it still has the tags on it. Some very lovely stuff. But so I decided that I'm going to try and get rid of some of that clutter this year. Again, not really thinking about this as a New Year's resolution, but um, I'm just trying to get rid of the things that no longer serve me. And I find that having things around me um, can add like an unnecessary level, layer of stress. So I am getting rid of a lot of things. So I'm actually going to be, over the next couple of months, activating my Poshmark and getting rid of a bunch of things on Facebook Marketplace and that sort of thing. So it's going to be interesting to go through some of those bags, and it's going to be tough because every time I go through, I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. Oh, I love that. I want to keep it. But I am actually going to be applying some very strict rules so I can get rid of that stuff. In any case, I'm really curious to hear. Sorry, I blabbed on for a while there, but I'm really curious to hear from you. What what did you learn in 2021? And what do you want to let go of? What do you want to remember? And what do you want to celebrate, right? Um, how do you want to grow, right, in 2022? And where do you want to put your attention, right? So those are my questions for you. Please drop them in the comments. Again, if you're watching here on LinkedIn, YouTube, or catching the replay on our website, please share your thoughts. I am so happy that I've been doing these. Believe me, there's been plenty of times where I was like, no, I don't want to do this. But I showed up. I showed up. Today was one of those days. And I don't seem to have the grumps so much anymore. So in any case, we are almost out of time. So I wanted to thank those who joined us, either live or who are catching the replay. Again, my name is Rosalinda Cruz, Chief Business Development Officer of the ACEWOR Collective. Our mission is to support a more diverse and inclusive, sustainable fashion industry by filling in the leadership and ownership gaps in the apparel supply chain. It was so nice talking with you guys today, and I will see you again next week, Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We go live. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.